So then they interviewed Bugs Bunny at ringside on Raw. And he's going to be the host of Backlash in Puerto Rico. So now every pay-per-view has a special host.
Hey, at least he can get a bunch of publicity. I mean, they made The Miz the host because they had nothing to do with him. And they wanted to do some goofy spots.
I'd like to have nothing to do with The Miz.
You hate it. Why do you hate him so much? And every now and then you go, you know, he was pretty good in this segment. And then the next week it's right back to, he looks like a frog.
Oh my God. Anyway, so Rey Mysterio does an in-ring promo next on this episode of Raw. And Austin Theory interrupted it and came down and he bragged about WrestleMania and him winning and he insulted the fans. And did you notice that he seemed more comfortable here? That he didn't let people throw him off, that he took some turns and made some asides and some little, comments to him and then got back to the point and carried himself a little more puffed up. Maybe that gave him some confidence over the weekend.
I think the same thing, but I still think the problem is he's not speaking naturally, but who could if they're telling you what to say?
Right. But it looked like he was doing it a little bit. He wasn't self-conscious about what he was doing. And then he cuts this promo and says, he's going to, I can't remember what he said. He's collecting belts or victories or wins over legends or whatever. And then Rey Mysterio bows up and says, well, you're going to collect your teeth. And then suddenly a referee slid in and he called for the bell. Did I miss where one of them actually said, I want to fucking fight you right here, and the other one said, okay? Or did they just kind of insinuate that everybody knew it was going to happen?
At this point, it seems that anyone from a celebrity to a wrestler could just point to someone and say, make that match.
Yes. And they just, the referee just, hey, go, boom, ring the bell. So, but I didn't even see the agreement here, but they had read the format. They knew what was supposed to happen. The wrestlers I'm talking about. So they went 30 seconds, and Theory hit the dreaded shoulder tackle coming off the ropes, and they just went to the break this time, not only with no warning or no Raw rolls on, but the British announcer that sounds like fucking Cadbury was still speaking, and they just went to the break.
Oh, they threw me off later in the show. At one point, Corey Graves, I don't even remember who he was talking about. He said, I'm just going to name Wrestler X. Wrestler X rolls on.
Yeah.
And they didn't go to commercial. I was like, what the hell was up? And they went to silence. So like, was there supposed to be a commercial there? Or now can it just roll on and continue? Interesting.
But it was Bachman Turner Overdrive. They're going to be the hosts of SummerSlam. Roll on down the highway. So they come back from the break at 8:58.
You ain't seen nothing yet. That's my new motto. You ain't seen nothing yet. Endeavor.
You ain't seen no mustache yet. 8:58 p.m. they come back, and they are less than 2 minutes of wrestling that's actually been on the air in the first hour of this program. And they come back on Austin Theory has a chin lock on Rey Mysterio. And you don't have to do that. And when you come back on just a motionless hold, especially after going to break on a fucking shoulder tackle, and the people are sitting there watching it in the build, there's no energy, there's no excitement. And it doesn't have to be that way. I've produced many programs, both live or live to tape, and then on tape that were going to be post-produced. It's very simple. If you go to break live, the referees have IFBs. In their ear, you can tell them we're in break. And then the guys can do whatever they want in the break, save the good stuff for when they're on television, but keep the people in the live building occupied. And then, since I would usually be producing, but I've also agented, but you can have two people do the same thing. The agent makes sure to tell them to be in motion when they come back from break, and the producer in the truck is going to send them signal through the referee. You got 10 seconds. So they know within 10 seconds they got to get into a fucking spot, hopefully a hope spot where the baby face is fighting from underneath and gets shut down, but something where there's movement going on and action, and then the people are up. So when you come back from commercial, there's action in the ring, the people are up, and there's something going on, and the announcers have something to talk about. And on tape, it's even easier. We'd post-produce Ring of Honor, and when we went to break, I would tell the referee, okay, tell Brian and Jim to grab a hold, get their breath. When they're ready, give me a pat on your knee, and I'll give you a count. And that way they would have time to grab their breath, make sure they were ready for their next spot. Referee would pat his knee. I'd say, okay, tell him to get in motion. And if Brian's got a chin lock on Jim, and Jim's fighting up and gives him an elbow in the gut and another elbow in the gut, then I tell the fucking director, we're up, because now you had the chin lock, right? That means I'm running and hitting the ropes when we come up from break. And then the announcer can say, Cornette hits the ropes, ducks the clothesline, comes off the far side, Last nails him with the elbow and shuts him down. We're back on Monday Night Raw for the Southern Heavyweight title. It's Brian Last versus Jim Cornette. And during the break,
and I'm
Cornette's
winning.
Been the victim of, whatever, yes. So the announcer does the reset of everything you need to know, but when you come back for the first 10 or 15 seconds, he's actually calling the action. So you get verbally and visually excited, and you hear the people, and then he does a quick reset, and then you're back in the story. It's not that fucking hard.
Even Vince used to do that.
Yes, but they don't anymore. So anyway, then they actually, I think, got to go for about 3 or 4 minutes. There was almost nothing to the match, but then they did a nice finishing sequence for about 2 minutes. Couple of nice big 2 counts. Ray got to 619 in. And then Dominik comes to the apron, or he went for the 619, but Dominik came up to the apron and he nailed Dom off the apron and then went for the 619. And fucking Theory had caught him and turned him into his finish, 1, 2, 3. So it was kind of a blah match where nothing really happened, but the finish was good, exciting, but it's like fucking 3 minutes. And then that's the point. Dominik and Priest get in and start getting heat on Ray, and then Dom goes out on the floor, and he and Bugs Bunny argue in Spanish, and Bugs punches the shit out of him. So Damian Priest hauls Bugs over the fucking rail, and they're arguing, and Bugs pushes Damian, and Dominik grabs Bugs from behind, and Bugs turns around and knocks fucking Dominik out again. Oh, Jesus Christ, it's the toughest musician in the world. And then Priest lays the bunny out and picks him up and choke slams him through the announce desk. The biggest musical star in the world. Pretty goddamn stiff fucking choke slam through the desk. And the bunny, as you could tell by his selling and his motions, is the furthest thing from a natural worker. I give him all the respect in the world for being gung-ho about taking it. But he was so covered up and so fucking awkward in his selling movements that, do you see, Damian couldn't even get his hand around his neck for the choke slam. He had to fucking separate his hands to get his hand around his neck. But now they've choke slammed a goddamn musician through the announce desk. Kaufman stayed in the hospital for 3 days over 2 pile drivers in the ring. So shouldn't this guy be on NBC Nightly News and an iron lung tonight?
Until they said it here, I forgot he was Damian Priest's partner at WrestleMania once. I forgot that was Damian Priest that teamed up with him. I forgot all about that.
Yes, that's when Damian was a smiley babyface.
He's been good. You know what? For as good as Dominik has been in this role of kind of like a wrestling Jimmy Hart in Memphis. Just a complete chicken shit, but then he wrestles and he still gets his ass kicked. He's been great in this role, but Damian Priest, because he has size, that voice, and he could do good stuff in the ring. Them together is great. I like this.
Yeah, and there's your team, and as Mommy transitions out of the picture, and Finn, I don't know. Maybe somebody else can get custody of Finn in a divorce case.
I want to bring you back as the stapler. Because you got staples in your head. We've never had a stapler.
Oh, but he had a stapler stuck in his ass when he was on the desk in the office with that paralegal. But anyway. So we're an hour and 15 minutes in. The biggest bump on the program's been by a musician.